Right, punters, listen up. Whoop, 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 whoop. This is a big Q&A, I must warn you. There's loads of questions and I'm going to try and get through them as effectively, efficiently and as quickly as possible. He means business. I might not even know the answer to some of these questions, but I'll get through them. And I apologise if your question hasn't been answered if you've come across my Instagram after the video. You feel me, sisters? Right. Oh, question 1. James, thoughts on a natural athlete who isn't interested in taking steroids for a few more years yet, but taking Clen to get ultra shredded? Or am I just a total steroid novice for asking this question? By all means take clenbuterol. I do not control your life, but I feel that the potential side effects of Clen aren't warranted unless you're really looking to get to crazy levels of body fat percentage that you've stated only if you're competing. But if you want to go to Ibiza or a lad's holiday or anywhere and want to get ultra shredded and use Clen, who am I to stop you? Esmer, do you reckon the infamous Kraken and Blue Ghost stack pre-Pacha and DC10? Good God, no. One of them is absolutely horrendous and I wouldn't go near. It's crazy side effects. Blue Ghost, however, should I order a Chinese or an Indian? Depends how much of a slag you're feeling. I tend to feel like a proper really naughty slag after a Chinese, whereas an Indian, if I get like a chicken tikka main and some rice, it's relatively okay. Farhan, will cutting on just testosterone be just fine, or do you see the need to add in other anabolics? It all depends on the current situation. If you're just looking to go into a deficit and you've been training X amount of years and you want to get rid of some unwanted body fat and have made the decision to jump on anabolics, then testosterone, yes, is absolutely fine to maintain, if not increase, some lean tissue whilst in a caloric deficit. Adding in additional anabolics would probably be preferred for an individual that is looking into going to contest prep phase. 72 Blair, how do you feel the intensity from prep has kept into your off-season? So my intensity was relatively high in prep, but nothing as compared to what it's like in this current off-season. So this newfound love almost for intensity with Callum's new training on board, the lower volume, higher intensity approach is fantastic. I'm very much enjoying how training's going. Cody Walker, any advice on injury / advantageous supplements to reduce recovery time? So you've got things like fish oils, you've got ginger, spirulina, curcumin is very, very good. Depending on what is the actual injury, omega-3 is very good for inflammation as well. Sleep is going to be a massive driving factor for recovery, so if you can nail sleep, possibly through CBD oil as well, which I've just been using for the past sort of 3 weeks, which I feel has been absolutely fantastic. I also implement things like zinc pre-bed that's helped me sleep, lavender spray on pillows, making sure the room's cool. That cumulative approach to nailing it will hopefully increase your recovery. Which websites do you order clothes off? You have the greatest taste in clothing in the YouTube realm and I need to know where you cop garms. So I go to, I'm a Zara man really. I get a lot of my clothes from Zara. I like True Vintage. I like Rocket for the vintage style in Camden. What other places do I use? Oh my God. There's some really nice pop-up shops in Shoreditch, in Box Park. There is a place in Bluewater called, what's the place in Bluewater that does all the clothes, like the nicer clothes, like the Versace and all that shit. They're quite cool. Depop's quite good. Depop's really, really good for like browsing off the shelf, non-seen before clothing. Urban Outfitters is also good. Mohammed, generally what is the best number of exercises to include into an upper and lower day routine? I presume you mean upper, lower rest, so if you're targeting your body twice a week. Generally I'd say on an exercise front 2 or 3 per upper and lower on that given area is sufficient enough, and then you look at distributing volume within those. So you may start 10 sets per body part per week and then increase from there. I'm just giving 10 sets as a very, very broad range. Kane, would you have ditched Rosie for Zara? I would have kept Rosie. I think she's a little bit more sassy, Rosie. Minstrels or Maltesers? Minstrels, however, has anyone tried the new Malteser, the buttons? Christ alive, they're mental, aren't they? Megan, if someone wants to have a bodybuilder physique but not to a level of competing, do you think you still need to be as thorough with meeting macros, training, supplementation, etc.? So if you want to look like a bodybuilder, not to the level of competing. Bit of an oxymoron. I can see where you're coming from. Do you need to be anal with supplementation? No. Essentially, do any of us need supplementation? No. But it can provide a very small percentile benefit to an individual. In terms of macros, you can still achieve a very good physique with a much more flexible approach if you adopt something like protein and calories, for example. And training, again, into some form of progressive overload. You could target your body twice a week in a less frequent manner compared to some of the bodybuilders. So you could do upper, lower, full body, for example, which is only 3 sessions per week. So essentially, yes. Excuse me, these lights aren't the best lights. If you could only ever take one drug ever again, what would it be? One drug. Tren or ecstasy? Ecstasy or Tren? I think happiness is the drug that I could only ever take. Happiness is a drug. Tren. Ben, if you were ever to stop bodybuilding, do you think your natural test would recover, or do you think you're going to be on TRT for life? Who knows? Who knows? If I'll have to address the situation when it comes to it. But as mentioned in Josh Bridgman's podcast, if you're an individual that takes the path of anabolic steroid usage, then be prepared for the potential outcome of having to go down that route. Lewis, if you could change up to 3 things about your 2018 contest prep, what would you change and why? Number 1, my diet. I would be incredibly less flexible. Number 2, eating out, which is probably linked to diet. I would just not eat out. Eating out is very hard to track, although MyFitnessPal may have a select few grams for fat and sodium. You never know how much is really going into it. In terms of a training perspective, I was pretty happy with training. So for me, diet would be the biggest part. Sam Woods, when are you going to do your and Elle's podcast, Trendy? Please tell us it'll be a real thing. I really want to do it. I think we would do it. She's in our beef at the moment. She gets back. Got a little bit of work to do, and then we'll chill out, and then we'll try and get something together. Frugal. Opinions on Conor McGregor. I love Conor McGregor. I will always love Conor McGregor. I would like him to get his head in the game and fight again. And there's talks and rumours and him and so going together, possibly a Nate Diaz trio. But he's living his life. He is living whatever the fuck he wants to do, life. So, very bad impression. I haven't done him in a while. RDH, what's the big dream regarding competition, YouTube and business? I'm a realist when it comes down to competition. I doubt I'll ever be on the Olympia stage. However, I'd love to win a British title. In terms of YouTube, just continual growth in that area. More collaborations with bigger names, I think, is on the cards. I've got a few lined up, which is good. In terms of business, again, just growth. In terms of a selling side of things, I would like to release some ebooks that I'm doing. Clothing, but properly, not just, oh, I've got a few thousand followers, let me stick my name on a t-shirt and sell it. If I'm doing clothing, I'm going all in the sense that I am having seasons for clothing. I am making sure that the material and the logoing is done properly. And that would be pretty much it for now. Kieran, do you have any opinions on different competing divisions within the UK? So, generally, in the UK as a whole, us British bodybuilders have this attitude that UK BFF is crap and it's really poor and very political. I think there's a lot of politics in bodybuilding, not just UK BFF. NABBA is okay, although they fucked me over a little bit with the weigh-ins. I think what it has transitioned to now is 2 Bros Pro and PCA being the 2 front runners and contenders for the better of the division. Divisions. Maybe I answered that wrong. Divisions or federations? Do you have any opinions on different competing divisions? I'm confused. You mentioned recently that your new training routine will take you to some very dark places. What do you actually think about in those moments when you have to tap into another level physically and mentally? I don't know if you can say it, but they're quite dark about sort of loved ones being I'll let you think of the rest. I love to do boxing or BJJ for my cardio. Have you ever done anything like that? So I did MMA at Lewisham College for a year and I was told I was too good, so I had to stop. What's your opinion on Tren for a first cycle? Get that thought out your head. Would you rather know how you're going to die or know when you're going to die? I'd rather know when I'm going to die. Sophie, nutrition. Any advice on how I can come up with a good nutrition plan for optimum gains? Macros tracking, it's a very broad question, but essentially if you're going into a deficit or a dieting phase, calculate your maintenance, subtract a certain amount, whether you want to go into a severe deficit of up to sort of 500 to 600 or 300 and then taper that and see how you get on. Macro breakdowns can be done in the sense of putting your protein first in terms of an overall importance, even though I wouldn't say one macronutrient is more important than the other, but protein. Email me, Sophie, email me. I'll explain it better for you. Aaron, what music do you listen to while training? Do you have a playlist? I don't have a playlist, no, I just type in anything. I type in like trap remixes, Solomon, deep house, tech, noir. That's pretty much it really, just go between them. Grime, sometimes I do a little bit of grime, I like grime. Or Sammy, why are you so cool? Because I know a girl who's Russian. Legend. Ben Hills, nutrition seems to involve a lot of rice for me. Any suggestion on how to make it less bland other than splashing soy everywhere? Well, make it less bland by not having so much rice. Have a different carbohydrate source. Pasta, potatoes, bagels, cereal, wedges. Zhuzh it up a bit. But in terms of a rice perspective, wok. Well, you've already said soy, haven't you? That's pretty shot myself in the foot. Chili sauce is good. Like a bit of chili sauce. High grade fitness. How come your muscle mass looks odd? I mean, it looks like you took muscle and slapped it on your body. It doesn't look mature. They look like inflatable pool toys. Do you wish you would have built up a better natural base first? Well, I think I've got muscle or I haven't. Have a nice son. Yeah, I do wish I built up a better natural base first. What sort of inflatable pool toy do I look like? I'm intrigued. Anyone ever said you look like Kevin McKidd? He plays Owen Hunt from Grey's Anatomy. Let me have a look at this. Oh fucking hell, I actually do, don't I? I mean, I'd like to look like that when I'm older, but I'm 24 and he's older than me and looks better than me. Is Baca powder pointless? Additional calories. Is that BCAA or Baca? Probably BCAA. BCAAs are pretty much redundant now. In the studies that have been done, JP's done a lot of work on them. The Mountain Dog, aka John Meadows, has also done many a good video on why essential amino acids are far better than branched chain amino acids. Thoughts on intermittent fasting? Have you used it before? I've talked about it many a time. Intermittent fasting is a tool. It is just that, it's a tool. It is not a way or method of getting you any more conditioned than any other diet would be. So don't get too caught up in the hype surrounding intermittent fasting. It is a method that I implement with clients that have a very busy, hectic schedule and can only eat in a certain time period and window. I'll implement that, but that's all it is. Obviously everyone knows carbs are most important post-workout, not necessarily, but is protein in post-workout meal completely necessary if total daily protein is hit? So a big driving factor for that would be your protein intake prior to training and your intra-workout supplementation. So say, for example, an hour prior to training you've had 250 grams of chicken and some rice, a very carb and protein rich meal. Intra-workout you've had, I don't know, 20 to 30 grams of EAAs. Do you need to rush and get that protein in as soon as possible? No. Will the protein being consumed in that peri-workout window, whether that's pre, intra and post, be more beneficial in terms of a recovery perspective? Possibly. That's my stance on the sitch. Do you take liver detox supplements and do you do anything for gut health? So gut health and digestion I am not big into in the sense that I take anything. My coach Callum and the Muscle Mentors have done a very good podcast on gut health recently. But in terms of liver detox supplementation, I just take N-acetylcysteine. That's as far as I go for liver. Strum Sports do a product called Support that's meant to be very, very good for an overall on-cycle support. Do SARMS actually work? It depends what you mean by work, but they will have some form of effect. Do I think they're effective? Not really. Do they have their place? Yes. Are they as effective as actual anabolics? No. Any recommendations for a beginner's first ever test and Tren cycle, dosages, amount of weeks ran? If this is your first cycle, I would only run it for about 8 weeks on Tren. I would run your Tren higher than your testosterone, keeping that testosterone low, in the sense that the ratio could be maybe like a 3-to-1. I tend to do 75 milligrams of Tren every other day with 25 meg of test. For a beginner, I would suggest smaller than that, 50 milligrams of Tren every other day with maybe 25 milligrams of test, less aromatization. In terms of PCT, depending on what you're running, which ester you're running, if it's the longer form, then wait a couple of weeks and implement Scally's PCT protocol, which is solid. I am a fan of running HCG on cycle compared to off cycle. I don't like this notion that huge amounts of HCG should be ran at post-cycle therapy, because I believe that huge amounts of HCG will lead to a massive surge in aromatization anyway. I believe small amounts throughout the cycle are far more beneficial, especially from a recovery point of view as well. Cooper, always a pleasure to see your name, Cooper, my man. I do love you. As I can tell, you have been on for quite a while cruising. How are you finding managing sex drive? Absolutely fine, brother. Absolutely fine. Prep-wise, it was a little bit stagnant because I think mentally my mind was elsewhere. But now I'm back to the off-season eating again. It's great, thank you. Lauren, as a beginner, should you rather do a full body type of workout or a split? A split with at least a frequency of twice a week. I think all beginners should hit their body parts twice a week. I don't feel that the typical bro science split has its place really. Potentially if you're a veteran bodybuilder with a huge amount of gear, but even then, why would you want to put yourself at a disadvantage compared to someone who's training twice a week? So upper, lower, push pull legs, upper, lower, push pull legs, full body, something like that. And just focus mainly as a beginner on compound movements, really progressing in those lifts, those OHPs, a deadlift, a hip hinge movement, a bench press, a squat. See how you go on. Thoughts on glucose disposal agents, GDAs. This is something that I'm just looking into at the moment. The individual who went on holiday with AJ, what's her name? The girl, CMP athlete, did quite a good post on them. Alex Kikau has done some good material on them as well, comparing blood glucose levels with one and without one, and it showed that the blood glucose level post-workout was a lot lower. So I think they work. I haven't tried one. I will try one, and I'll be interested to see a lot more scientific information and literature to be done on it. At what age did you start training, and what age did you start juicing? So I started training probably about 17, 18, and started juicing at 19. So not a wise move. Paul, thoughts on Emery, the Arsenal manager? I don't know, man. I quite like him. I quite like his play from previous seasons with other clubs. I think he's made a bad decision with Jack. I think getting rid of Wilshere was a poor idea. I think we should have fought a lot harder for him. Song name in the Ibiza video at the beginning. My God, if I have to tell someone that. It is Eazy-E Gangster. I think we're nearly towards the end. Are you doing any cardio at the moment? Are calories increasing weekly? So cardio is a flat 500 calories a week. I do 250 calorie sessions. Calories have just increased last week. It's not every week. We're not pushing it too hard. We're being very, very patient. Winstrol or Clen, both oral, preference and why? I mean, if I could choose both, I'd use both, having ran Clen orally and in an injectable version. Injectable was very, very good. Ever going to try GH and insulin? I doubt I'll ever touch Slin. GH I want to touch on this off-season. All my jeans/pants are ripped and wearing at the crotch because of the quad gains. Have you had this? And if so, I don't. The remedy to this is Primark women's jeans. And true OG fans will know that I'm an advocate. I advocate women's jeans. Primark women's jeans are very good. They fit perfectly around the ankle so that if you wear a nice shoe, for example, it sits perfectly. I'm a size 14 woman, if that puts things into perspective. The other questions are pretty much the same, so I'm going to finish with Snog, Marry, Avoid, Shred Bundy, Josh Bridgman, and C-Bum, Chris Bumstead. That's horrendous, because one of those is one has to be avoided. Because Josh Bridgman knows I love him, I'll avoid him in the sense that I wouldn't really avoid him, but for this, I'll avoid him. Do you feel me? Then it's between snogging Bundy and marrying C-Bum. I think Bundy's probably very good, so I'd kiss Bundy and marry C-Bum. I mean, imagine waking up to Chris Bumstead every morning. I wouldn't go to bed. He'd wake up and I was like that. You alright? Do a vacuum. That's it. I apologise if I missed your question out. I just skimmed through a lot of them. But if you want me to answer any, put them in the comment section and I'll go through them. How long was that? It was 32 minutes, but with the power of editing, I could get it down to about 15, I reckon. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you, good night. From me and Ian Bill, keep it real. #Billmatic. Much love.